The process is, so I have an agent, and if I get a job through my agent, they will reach out to my agent, check I'm available, say what the job is to see if I'm interested. And then there's a bit of a dance that goes on with budgets and, you know, how many I get paid per day. So sometimes I have to put a budget together for how many days I think something's going to take me. And in styling, when I'm doing a photo shoot, the photo shoot really is just a small percentage of the time. If I'm prepping something, say it's 10 people for a Coca-Cola shoot, then I have to work out how many days prep I'm going to need. So 10 people, normally you prep for about 4 days. The shoot is 1 day and then you have a return day. So that's the negotiation, and then you sign off on the estimate and the quote, and then you're good to go. My job at Miss Universe, I'm on a retainer there, and they really respect that I'm freelance and that I could change. So we normally for that do a fit in. I get the girls' schedule probably 2 weeks ahead of time, and we have, it depends at the minute, like I say, we're in New York Fashion Week, so we've done almost a fit in every day, but normally I do one fit in a week, whether it's remotely or in person, and then we just, you know, we have the looks put together for the events that they're going to wear the outfit to. Definitely. And I think people assume that you're like hanging out with people and you have the day with people. Like I shot again with Martin because he and I had a great relationship for many years. You know, you have half an hour. That's it. You have half an hour with people. And quite often, you know, they come in, they're back to back on shoots. So you're almost like, you know, a really good analogy. Cinderella is a great analogy, but also a Formula One like pit lane where someone comes in, literally putting everything on them. They shoot, they know their angles, and they're off to the next thing. You have to be very, very efficient and just get the job done in the time you're allotted, because it literally is 30 minutes. Like I remember shooting Martin again. We shot Matt and Trey, the guys who created South Park. They were opening Book of Mormon, and we had 10 minutes with them. They were opening Book of Mormon that night on Broadway. We had another theater, and I shot them as the two old guys from the Muppets up in the up in a box. Yeah. And you know, you've got to meet people, and you've got to be like, hi, how are you? Right, come on, let's get you naked, and let's get some clothes on you. And it's a very personal thing. It's immediate, it's fast, and then they're off to the next thing. Well, I suppose this works for advertising and, you know, the social media. Now, where there used to be two very different things, you would do video one day and you would do the photo shoot the other day. Now budgets have like combined them. So you've got, again, when I shoot Puma, it's almost like a conveyor belt. Yeah. So you have a ginormous studio and you're doing your stills in one area, and then the model's moving over to video, and then they're moving over to social. And I'd say they're equally as important, whereas years ago, the photography was the most important. Video wasn't, and there was no social media. So I think social media plays a huge role, like especially for Miss Universe. So the pact that you make with the brands, or rather the deal then, shall we say, is she will wear the dress, she'll take photos, she'll tag the brand, but it's not just tagging the brand, they want the photo tagged and they want it in the comments, and then you're sending the dress back. So yeah, that's completely different to maybe doing, you know, there were more magazines years ago as well. Like the magazine pool is really, really shrunk. So if you did want to go into fashion and become like a fashion editor, then that's another different route again. I think if you're going into that editorial high fashion, I think that's definitely harder just because there aren't magazines anymore. Everything's gone online. Like just last week in the US, Entertainment Weekly that I spoke about was a magazine that's just gone all online. InStyle magazine has just gone online. If you pick up magazines, I mean, younger audience won't know this, but you know, magazines are very thin now. They used to be like those September issues were like Bibles. So that's definitely shrunk. So I think if you want to go that high fashion editorial, there's probably a much smaller pool of places that you can go. You can sort of work your way up the ranks from interning, assisting, and then hopefully getting a job as an editor. But then, I really embrace social media. It's a lot shorter, it's way more fun. So, we're surrounded by images more now than we ever, creative content, than we ever were. So there's definitely opportunity that way. I think what's really important in fashion is to know what the job entails. So many people don't realize how hard work it is. They don't realize, the amount of times people have said to me oh, I thought you already had those clothes. I'm like, how would I already have a magic room full of clothes? Even if there was one, how did those clothes get in the room, So I think you have to really know what is entailed in the job, whatever industry you're going in, and whether you do that through just reaching out to people, shadowing people, and just saying hey, can you spare some time for me to just, what does your day-to-day actually consist of, we've discussed here. I think it's very important, especially in fashion, to know what the job is entailed and to know the different areas. The job really is the same in fashion. You have to get clothes for a event or for a time period, and then you have to return the clothes. What industry you do that in, you're either working to a budget or you're, speaking to Gucci, that flow is still the same. But they need to understand that, and to understand there's a lot of logistics that go on. It's not, things are shipped, things are delayed. What are you doing if it's delayed? How inventive are you with other solutions? You always got to have some sort of plan B in your back pocket if this doesn't come in, So I think research, just get online, find out, everybody is very accessible now. Follow stylists, see what they do. Try and find stylists that really tell you what they're doing on their Insta stories. The showroom is where you borrow clothes. So you can go into a showroom and there's just, they're magical places. There's rails and rails of clothes and you get to pick what you want to pull. Stylists always show that. They never show okay, so then you have to hire a messenger who comes to pick that up. Or if you don't have budget for a messenger, you then have to carry all that stuff. Where are you getting it to? Is it all living in your bedroom? Have you got budget for an office? Then you have to get that stuff. You've moved it from showroom to office, bedroom. You then have to get it on set. How's that? It's logistics. You're moving things. The amount of people are just oh, I don't want to speak to FedEx. Well, that's 50% of the job. I think you have to be professional. I think it's through education, because the way I just explained, the process of my job, people just don't know that. And so when they say oh, I want to work in fashion, okay, you have to understand what area of fashion do you want to work in and understand what the job entails. You're not on a photo shoot all the time. It's not what the media perceives it to be. So I think you have to be really willing to work hard. You have to be accountable. Even if you can't do something, then just communicate that. Don't just the amount of people I've had again, oh yeah. I say, I'll give anyone an opportunity, but then you really have to show up and do the work. It is reaching out to people. I do keep on Instagram. I always, read my DMs that haven't come from, people that I follow, to make sure I go through them, and hopefully other people do that as well. So just start reaching out to people. They'll give you, or they should give you time. And if they don't give you time, well, then do you really want to work with that person anyway? I think just know what the person that you're contacting does. Pay attention to them as opposed to you pushing I want to work in this industry. If someone saw me, they would say, I would hope, maybe I should say my best case scenario. If I was interviewing, the person who would stand out to me is someone who had looked at my portfolio and said, I see you style X, Y, and Z. I would love to help you. Reach out to this brand or that brand, or, come up with creative ideas that show that you want to help me, as opposed to you want to get into fashion and can you get me into fashion?